everyone. This is Ama coming to you with another episode on AmaGi Ascensions to bring light to spirituality, birth, and just all things holistic living. As you all know, I am a holistic birth worker. I'm a Kundalini Reiki practitioner, intuitive reader, and so much more. There's not enough boxes to put me in. Today, I have Q, which is a really dope astrologer that I've talked about many times on my channel. And a lot of you have asked who was the astrologer that gave me my reading. So I said, why did I just bring Q on and let her talk for herself so y'all can get to know her a little better? Because astrology will change your life, believe it or not. So let me allow Q to introduce herself and tell you who she is.
Yes, thank you so much, Amma. Thank you, sister. I appreciate it. Um, just to introduce myself, I am Q Brandon, uh, astrologer for since 2015. Astrology has always been something that I've been interested in ever since I was a teenager in high school. I want to say like freshman year is when I started to purchase astrology books, or at least ask my mom to purchase them for me. And then also too, I went to college at University of Rhode Island. I was a psychology major. So I've always been interested in the human mind and how people tick and why people do the things that they do, because I've always had this energy about myself where I wanted to help people. I wanted to understand how they think so I can better understand how to help them. And through my research in astrology, I remember one of my first books was how astrology is linked to psychology. And so, yeah, I've been practicing astrology since 2015. Um, got a cool opportunity to read for a celebrity. And my expertise is in astrocartography because I love to travel. I love to travel. And when I started traveling, I started to, really take more of an interest in astrocartography, which is location astrology. It's how the placements of the planets affect where you live and where you visit, depending on where you were born. And so I would kind of map out my travels, or let's say if I couldn't control where I was traveling for my other career, then I would just kind of look at the power lines and kind of see how the energy was going to be affecting me. And so I believe that because I have a lot of travels under my belt, a lot of stamps on my passport, it's allowed me to become sort of like an expert on astrophotography, where I kind of have my own viewpoints and my own assertions on the power lines and how they communicate with me. And so I'm able to read those lines for other people and kind of determine how things are going to go for them. So that's me in a nutshell. Yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you for that beautiful introduction. So me and Q actually met on Clubhouse, um, and I'm always in rooms that can help me strengthen and develop who I am as a person and just my life in general. So anything self development or career development or spirituality, they are the rooms that usually I would navigate to. And I stumbled across Q's room, and I just kind of sat there. Now I knew about location astrology before I met Q, but having somebody, a real, astrocartographer, really break it down, just helped me understand it a little bit better. And I have a lot of ninth house placement, so for me, travel is I knew was always going to be a thing for me, and I travel a lot of states when I was a little girl with my grandmother. So that kind of set the stone for me traveling as a, 30 years. I said 20. I'm 30 years old now, 30 something, and not being afraid to travel alone, right? Because a lot of people stay stuck where they're at because they're afraid or they're waiting for somebody else to come with them, and it's like, child, make the plan, but just go explore. And I always say every place is a portal. Every place is going to give you a different energy, whether it be past life energy, whether it be love, etc., etc. So, can you just break down to the people who don't know and who are really fresh to astrology, what exactly is location astrology?
Yes, absolutely. So let's start with like the foundation, right? So there was an astrologer by the name of Jim Lewis who developed this science back in around the 1970s. And so his thought process was, okay, so we go to these different locations, and like you said, they open up portals, they unlock certain energies within our natal charts, right? So he is the founder of it. I can't take credit for this. I'm really like so grateful for this man to have created this science. And I believe that it could have helped, you know, a lot of people before the 70s, like in the 60s, JFK and all that, but we'll get into that later on. Because I don't think he should have been in Dallas, Texas to begin with when I looked at his astrocartography. Rest in peace to him. But yeah, location astrology was invented by Jim Lewis. And so it essentially is going to be based on the individual's natal chart. So first you want to put in your birth time, the birth date, and the birth location. You absolutely need these three things, just like you're going to get any sort of astrology reading. You need those three things first. So it can be accurate, just like with an astrology reading, you need the birth time so that the reading can be accurate. If you don't have the birth time, you can't really figure out where you need to relocate or where you should stay away from or where you should go on vacation or anything like that. And also, too, we're dealing with all 10 of these planets, okay? And we're also dealing with the moon's nodes and we're dealing with Chiron. So we're dealing with 12 power lines, 12. Okay, 12 power lines. And these power lines are planets. So you have the sun power line, that's a planet in astrology. You have the moon power line, that's a planet in astrology. And all of the meanings of the planets in astrology are absolutely linked to the meanings of the power lines associated with astrocartography. So for example, if we're talking about going to our Neptune line, right? Neptune rules many things, but we also have to keep in mind that there are dark sides and there are light sides of these planets. Like there's a shadow and there's a light side in all of us. And the same thing goes for these planets. And so we have to understand that part first and then understand how our own personal Neptune planet is being aspected in order to then understand how our experiences are going to be on that Neptune line, right? So if you have a Neptune planet in your chart, that we all do, if we have that planet that is negatively aspected and we go to a Neptune line, we're going to have a negative experience. It's just that simple, you know, even if it is a positive Neptune power line, meaning that it's a Neptune sextile or a Neptune trine, you're going to get some good stuff because it is a positive line, but you're also still going to have to deal with how Neptune is being aspected in your chart because it's you. It's where Neptune was at during your time of birth and how it was aspecting the other planets associated with your own natal chart, right? So then it has to be, well, Neptune, do I want to, you know, deal with that, the illusion of everything, if it's negative, the illusion, the confusion, you know, I have to stay out of dark areas or areas that are a little bit sketchy because Neptune can like create some unsavory situations in that regard, you know what I mean? So that's what astrocartography literally is. It's we're dealing with the 10 planets, just to summarize. We're dealing with 2 points on the chart, the moon's nodes, which is the north and the south node, and we're dealing with the Chiron planet, the Chiron asteroid as well. It's not a planet, it's an asteroid. It sits between Saturn and Uranus. And so, yes, they all have different properties. They all unlock different things in our charts. And this is also why I'll tell you this. This is why it's not a good idea to listen to someone to tell you like, hey, I went to Jamaica and I had a great time. And you might go to Jamaica, for example, and have a horrible time because the way that your chart is set up, you were born on a different day than this person, of course, a different time. Maybe you were born a day after them, but it was a different time. So that shifts things too, right? Every 2 minutes, the power lines shift. Okay, they shift longitudinal and latitudinal. So that line could be further west or further east, depending. right? And so that's going to change some things as well. Like, whoa, I didn't have a good time there. So that I think that people, would really like get a kick out of astrocartography in this way because it really can save you from wasting your time in certain locations, depending on your relocation goals. And I'm sure we'll get into that as well. And it will put you in the right location where you can thrive if you're a person who is purposeful. And I think we all are. If we're sitting here listening to this conversation, your audience, I'm sure, is very purposeful, and very much so about um, doing what it is that they've been called on this planet to do. And I believe that astrophotography can definitely help you do that. It's like a cheat code. Like you want to do something relocation wise or specific, you got a specific goal in mind. Astrophotography can definitely help you. And that's why I'm so passionate about it.
Now, let me ask you this. Um, Now we know the power lines. It really depends on your own personal chart, right? So you can't, because I know a lot of people they watch general videos of people talking about the power lines, and then they go off of that, but they're not seeing or comparing it to their natal chart. So that person's experience or how they're breaking it down may not still be your experience as you explain. But let's say that someone does have a negative aspect on a certain power line in a certain place and they still decide to move there, maybe they have to take a job there, etc., is there certain lessons or takeaways that can help them develop in life from those challenging lessons?
Absolutely. That's such a great question, Alma. Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that yes, no matter where you go, whether it's a positive or negative experience, let's just start on that negative experience because that was the question. So we're going to definitely tackle that. Absolutely. I feel that life is not perfect, right? And so that's what squares represent in astrology. It's like if there's an obstacle, life is full of obstacles, and that's what the squares are in our natal chart. There's always this constant thing that we need to master. And that's the same thing that happens when a person goes to a power line where there's just not any good experiences happening. However, if you consult your natal chart and really, let's say, for example, I'll give you a great example, right? So let's say you go to like a Mars square ascendant line or something like that, and you have a not so great Mars placement. Maybe you have Mars in Libra or something like that, and it's in detriment, and you're just kind of like, you're like the woo woo woo. I want everyone to be okay. Let's just, maybe you're a basketball player and you pass the ball a lot. Like, wait, guys, just that kind of thing. You're at your Mars square, and people are challenging you, saying like you're not good enough. Like you need to really like speak up for yourself and da da da. I believe that in order to get through those types of situations or those squares or living in areas where it's just disharmonious, that's the term that we like to use, disharmonious, it is important for this individual with Mars and Libra to consult their natal chart and say, okay, Mars and Libra, how can I get through this? Libra is diplomatic. Libra is the mediator. Libra is, the peacekeeper. I don't like to use people pleaser. I hate that term. But Libra is the the peacekeeper and the person who is charming and graceful. So I believe that if the person will harness the energy of those positive Libra characteristics, like being charming and being graceful and not allowing the environment, the Mars square environment, to take them out of their character and make them all like rah, rah, rah. But if the Libra Mars native can create a strategy on how to get through these obstacles daily. Okay, how do I communicate when a person says this or does this? How can I get through this obstacle without me, Mars going into war? Because Mars square is going to want you to go to war. You're going to be faced with arguments. People are going to be arguing, coming at you with Mars and Libra, right? Mars and Libra people do not like confrontation. Okay, Mars is ruled by Aries. It's the sister sign of Libra, which is why it's in detriment. So this Mars and Libra person needs to figure out, how can I not go into this energy. And I believe that is the lesson. These are the lessons that we learn when we have to take a job somewhere where our chart just doesn't align with that location, right? But there are lessons to be learned on how to deal with a situation where someone is warring, or someone wants to argue, or someone does not like you, or someone does not agree with you. The squares, just like in astrology, the squares teach us how to deal with these situations so that we can become masters at it. And when we deal with them again in life, it's just like we're getting through and we're still on our path to our purpose. The same thing goes for astrocartography. When you go to a disharmonious location, yes, it is beneficial for the individual to learn how to get through these obstacles and these hurdles and these battles, because they're going to come up again in life. So it's not a bad thing, honestly, if you go to a place where you have to take a job and it's just not conducive for your chart, then you have to harness the energy of your planets, of that particular planet. If it's a Mars line, you have Mars and Libra, harness Mars and Libra. What are the, how can I get through this obstacle? Create a structured plan. That's how I teach getting through squares as well. Squares are a point of conflict and tension. Same thing when you go to a disharmonious astrocartography line. There's conflict, there's tension, there's pressure to act, there's pressure to do something. That's what squares are. There's pressure to do something. But really, all you need to do is create a plan on how to get through it, a plan on how to get to the other side of the fence, a plan to get on the other side of the grass. And that's pretty much what you have to do.
Beautiful. I love that answer. I love that answer because, and I asked that, I feel like a lot of people would be discouraged from going to a negative line. And I wanted to spotlight that because I feel like, even, okay, let's say you in your hometown where you were born, where you were raised, most parts of your chart are going to come out anyway, right? So when you go to other lines, they're just amplified, right? So like you're going to experience love in your hometown, right? Like for me, I have Mars and Pisces, so most of my life lessons is to stand up for myself, because I don't like, it's similar to Mars and Libra. I don't really like conflict. I don't, right? And it kind of, but I have Mercury in Aries, so it's not saying I can't take it there, right? But I do, the Mars and Pisces kind of waters that energy down, like all my fire energy. And, but one of the lessons was to stand up for myself. That's like been one of my biggest lessons in life, right? And knowing that I don't have to really be like, I don't have to cut people down to stand up for myself, but it can just be just using my voice. And if I was to go to a Mars line, I'm sure that energy would be amplified, but that's something that I've been learning anyway. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I wanted to highlight that, so people could understand that it's not something to run away from, but choosing positive lines can kind of catapult you quicker in life, where you don't have to go through too much tension if you don't want to right now at this moment.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I agree. I do think that it is beneficial to go to certain disharmonious lines. I always say stay away from like disharmonious Pluto lines, or like, Pluto conjunctions that are not in alignment with your chart. But yes, I do agree that going to the positive line can catapult you quicker, as opposed to being on a negative line or square, and then you're constantly dealing with things. And like, let's say, for example, sun square ascendant, the sun deals with our confidence. You go to a sun square ascendant line, you're going to be getting faced with situations where your confidence is going to be called into question, because people and situations and things, I say situations, are going to make you feel that you don't believe in yourself, or maybe you do believe in yourself. Maybe you have a Sagittarius rising or something like that. You do believe in yourself, but you just keep getting told no, and then that affects your confidence. And then, but that also can make you stronger for, let's say you go, and move across the country, and then it's a positive sun line, and you're already like, well, I learned lessons over here. And I know what it feels like to have my confidence called into question or to not feel confident about myself. Now I'm over here in this positive line. And so I can take those lessons that I learned in the disharmonious location over to the harmonious location and really, take it up a notch or two. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, life is a masterclass on, you know, I believe that life is a masterclass and it really wants us to be purposeful, right? So we're constantly learning every day. I mean, I don't know everything, you know what I'm saying? I'm constantly learning. I'm humble enough to tell myself that I'm constantly learning and I'm constantly growing as well in astrophotography. Every time I go to a line, whether it's like vacation, I am literally taking notes on how I feel every single day, every single day. It's not like oh, I go here and I'm going to feel this. No, I think that there's a level of self-awareness that I need to have as someone who calls myself an expert in this and someone who really is passionate about astrology just in general to take heed and take note on how I feel when I go to these lines. So therefore I can be able to help other people because I'm also learning too. And I go to specific lines. Like I just went to my Jupiter line for the first time in a Saturn conjunct ascendant line. I went to the NCAA Final Four last weekend, and I had the greatest time. And I felt that Jupiter luck. And and I was looking at how far am I from this line, and oh my God, I still felt this. And the Saturn conjunct ascendant didn't bother me at all because I had Saturn in my first house. Like I'm used to being wise and responsible and dealing with people in that manner. So that wasn't a bad thing for me. So see, I'm constantly taking notes and I'm constantly learning as well so that I can help other people. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
I love that. See, you got me like, I need to be taking notes. I need to be taking notes while I'm on my Jupiter line. Um, I usually journal, so I need to journal more specifically about how I feel while I'm here though. And just how my days are going. Now I have noticed a lot of luck. I have. Even if it's just small luck. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's just small, I don't pass off any miracles. I never do because it's just showing you that the bigger miracles can happen or are coming. They're just trying to give you hints that look what we just did for you, and we just did this, and we just dropped that for you. So I have been paying attention, but I do need to be writing it down more, or even doing voice notes when I do forget to write it. Can you give people um, just a brief rundown of all the power lines and just the negative and positive aspects of each again for those who are watching? As we said, these are just general explanations. It all depends on what exactly is in your personal natal chart, right?
Yes, that's correct. It all depends on what is in your personal natal chart. And um, so before I go through the lines, I also want people in the audience to keep in mind that when you are selecting a power line to go to, you need to think of two specific things, your relocation goals and specific locations of interest. First, you need to identify the location goals. Is it career? Is it buying a property? Is it retirement? Is it just going on vacation? Is it just, I'm just only going to be here for about 6 months? I'm not really trying to live here. Is it, I want to start my YouTube channel? Is it, I want to create a podcast? I want to start writing my book. I want to be a musician. I want to be an actor. I want to be whatever. We have to first figure that out first and then look at the specific locations of interest to see if they align with the relocation goals. Okay, so I just had to
I
get
want
that
to
out the
add
way.
something really
Oh,
quickly
sure.
before you go into it because I just laughed. Just had a little kiki in my mind about a question I asked you before. I asked you about love, but when I asked you about love, she said, "Now, what type of love?" Right? Because that matters. So it could be detailed. Like, are you looking for, some quick infatuation? Are you looking for like a sugar daddy? Are you looking for a true love? That depends. All that matters based on the location and what she sees in your charts. I just want to say that really quickly because it can be very detailed.
Absolutely. And that's one of my favorite lines, the Venus line, because that question comes up a lot in my consultations with clients. Like, I have to know, like, what kind of love are you exactly looking for? Because I don't want to tell you to go to a location and that's not really the kind of love that you're looking for. And that's not really like how your chart is set up. Like, you're not the type of person who wants this kind of love for real, for real. Like, you're not really looking for that. So let's kind of figure out like what specifically kind of love are you looking for? You know what I'm saying? And I'll definitely bring that up when I go through all the lines, like the different, like you said, the light and the dark side of these lines. So I'll go right into it. So the sun line is going to be orange. So you can go to astro.com. Let me just say this first. Go to astro.com to look at your astrocartography chart, and it's going to be under the tab that says Astro Click Travel. Now, astro.com is a free internet service. You can make an account, you can put your email in, make up your password, put your birth chart details in, and then go to Astro Click Travel on that website, and you'll click on that and it'll bring up your astrocartography chart, and then all the lines are color coordinated. So I'm going to go based on astro.com's color coordinated lines. Okay, so the sun line is the orange line. Okay, and so the sun line, it rules the sign of Leo. Leo rules the fifth house of fun and creativity. So what do we think that's going to bring to us if we go to the sun line? Feelings of fun and joy and creativity, where we just want to, we just feel like this boost of energy. We want to go out and we want to create things, or maybe we want, children may be attracted to us as well on the sun line as well. You may want to work with children more. You may have a business where you work with children and then you move closer to your sun line and that business picks up, right? This is another thing we got to think about too. Being strategic when it's time for us to move. Okay, my lease is up. I have a business where I work with kids. It could be any type of business where you work with kids. It could be sports. It could be painting. It could be teaching kids how to dance. And you live further away from that sun line and it's time for you to move. Maybe you need to move a little closer to that sun line, and I guarantee you your business is going to pick up. Trust me, I know it. I lived it. So the sun line is also too where we do things that we normally wouldn't do, like our hobbies. The fifth house rules our hobbies. We may really get into our hobbies. Maybe it's DJing, maybe it's painting, maybe it's whatever it is. It's also a great line for increasing your vitality. Your health increases. You may want to start doing things that don't decline your health. Like you may stop drinking. You may go cold turkey. You may be surprised at yourself that you live in an area where there's bars all over the place, but you don't even want to do that. You want to go out and be in nature, be in the sun. The sun line also makes you want to be out and about outdoors as well, and be out in the sun and increase your vitality through exercise, through diet, through healthy nutrition, through wellness, going to the doctor a lot more, really tuning into your body more, and things of that nature too. The sun line is also ruling our confidence. The sun rules our confidence, our willpower, our courage. So this is a line where you have an increased sense of confidence, okay? Where you feel really good about yourself, you know? So that's why it's also important to not go to a negative sun line. The negative aspects of the sun line could operate like this, where you don't feel like you're getting recognized. When I think of the sun line, I think of a spotlight. The sun is shining on you. That's Leo. Leo's like, I want to, I want the attention. I'm the celebrity. I'm the, that's Leo. I'm the child, like, and then the sun line can create, what is the negative side of Leo? The temper tantrum. Oh, I don't have enough attention on me, so I'm upset. This is the negative side of being on the sun line. You could face frustration. Let me put it in context. You can face frustration. You can face a lack of feeling needed, cared for, recognized, these kinds of things. So that's the sun line. That's the good stuff and the bad stuff. Moving on down to, I have it written down here. I just want to make sure I never forget anything. Moon line. Moon line is going to be that dark moon that dark, dark blue, that dark blue line is the moon line. Okay. So the moon line is where we, the moon represents our emotions. It's Cancer. So let's start with the light side. I was going to go to the dark, but let's start with the light side. So the light side of this line could be where you're really um, close with your family. Family is very important for you on this line. It's also the line where our divine feminine energy resides. The moon is the feminine energy, the Mars is the masculine energy. So it's where you get in touch with your emotions, your instincts, um, your childhood as well, mother issues if you have them, whether they be good or bad. But let's start with the good. You may really be connected with your mother more. You may talk to her a lot on your moon line, even if you're not close to her. In proximity, you may call her a lot. You may also, if you are a mom, for women, the moon line is very much so more auspicious for women than it is for men, because women have more of that feminine nature to them. I mean, we all have divine masculine, divine feminine energy within us if we have done the work, right? But the moon line is where we feel more instinctual about caretaking and nurturing other people, especially if women have kids, more nurturing. Even if the woman has like a moon in Aries, she's still going to be moon in Aries, but she's really going to be caring for her children on a daily basis, anything that they need, right? It's like, I'm going to provide that. I'm going to provide a nice home for you. She's going to do what is necessary to be nurturing and to be sensitive to her children. Now, the dark side of the moon's line could be depression. Let's say if it's a moon square line you go to, or the moon is not aspected properly in the natal chart, it's just kind of out of whack. The moon line could create depression. It can create feelings of sadness. Particularly, this is not a good line for men. Men do better on the Mars line, but again, it depends on how the man's chart is set up. If he has, of course, like a Cancer sun and a Cancer rising, then of course he's going to do really well on the moon line. I mean, this is where he needs to be. So that's just an example. But the negative aspect of the moon line, just feelings of low vitality can happen, right? Where you don't want to get out of bed, you don't feel nurturing. The moon represents our emotions. You could be pulled into other people's drama, arguments, disputes. Let's say a person has a moon in Aries. Let's get back to that. Moon in Aries is not a good placement to have. This person could have a lot of emotional combativeness going on in the home. The moon represents our home and security and stability. A lot of fights in the home. It could be verbal fights in the home, even with the
Now, can I
family.
ask a question?
Sure.
Do you think, now I know Neptune rules like illusions, but do you think one of the negative aspects of the moon sign can be illusions?
I think that if the moon is, if it's aspecting Neptune, then yes. But I don't think that by itself the moon is representing any sort of illusion. I think that if it's in some sort of aspect with Neptune, whether it be positive or negative aspect to the moon from Neptune, then I do think that illusions um, can be a source or a sore spot that can come up for sure.
And I asked that question because it made me think of tarot, and when the moon card pops out, depictions are always different depending on the deck, but it can sometimes mean, depending on how the other cards are placed, it could mean illusion. So I was like, I wonder, if that correlates. So that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm into tarot too. I'm into the tarot community as well. I think that those readers, like they're intuitive, like some of them are intuitive, and if they feel like this energy is coming up in their collective, I think that they could possibly be picking up on individuals who have a afflicted moon. I would say afflicted. When your moon is afflicted, that means that it's either squaring or in an opposition to a malefic planet. And that's where the Neptune aspect could come up. Neptune is a malefic, Saturn is a malefic, right? And so when we have these types of aspects, there could be some illusion, like, oh my God, this feels worse than what it probably is. Like I'm kind of losing my mind. I'm getting depressed. So yes, I do feel like that is something that is accurate, that the moon can be indicative of Neptune characteristics, depending on how the moon is being aspected in the individual's natal chart. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, so that's the moon, the dark and the light side. So let's go on to Mercury now. So Mercury would be the light green line. Okay, so Venus is the dark green line, and Mercury is the light green line on astro.com. And so this is a place where, our thoughts thrive, because Mercury rules the mind. Okay, our thoughts thrive, communication is heightened. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. Mercury rules communication, it rules social media, it rules writing, journaling, it rules vehicles, movement, right? So, speaking of movement, you're going to be very busy on the Mercury line. You could be like running a lot of errands, going here, going there, you just have an itinerary. You got stuff to do every day, or it's a place where the mind is going. It's like that Gemini energy, constantly thinking, going, producing ideas, social media, podcasts, Instagram, Facebook. Mercury rules these things that we communicate on, to our pictures, our thoughts, our blogs. These things. This is where Mercury rules. It also rules old-fashioned writing, being an author. You should go here if you want to be an author, or you're in some sort of communications field, or Mercury is highly prominent in your chart. People who are like Sun and Gemini do really well on the Mercury line. They actually find it quite good, especially too if like Mercury line is next to a line that normally people wouldn't want to be living in. But if they got that Mercury line present there, and they have a lot of like mercurial themes in the natal chart, meaning that maybe their purpose is to communicate in some way or use the internet or technology, then they actually love the Mercury line. Now, the negative side of the Mercury line would be, I want to say, like gossip, right? A lot of gossip. Mercury rules communication, so you could be um, the source of gossip. Car accidents, whether you're walking across the street or in a car or not, you have to be mindful on your Mercury line. Walking across the street, if it's in a disharmonious, if you're living on a disharmonious Mercury line, be mindful of crossing the street, being a pedestrian, or even driving in your car. I've seen a lot of times when I'm working with clients. I remember one young lady I read for, she lived on her Mercury square ascendant line, and she did end up getting struck by a car. Unfortunately, she's okay, but this did happen to her because, again, Mercury rules vehicles. So you have to be mindful of negative communication, being involved in community gossip, workplace gossip. Just zip it, get out of there, right? Channel that good positive Mercury energy on journaling, like you said, Ama, journaling, writing, getting your podcast together. But I've seen too where on the negative side of Mercury, people being on that line and they have a podcast, they start getting interested in gossip, celebrity gossip, podcasting, and stuff like that. And hey, that may be what they need to do, and that may be a good thing. So it just depends. You know what I'm saying? That might be something that's in their chart that says like you should do this. But if you don't want to, indulge in gossip and stuff, maybe you have Chiron and Gemini, you shouldn't be gossiping because it tells the subconscious mind that you are talking about people, and your subconscious mind doesn't know if you're talking about yourself or not. So it can be dangerous, right, for those types of individuals. Again, understanding the totality of the natal chart. So that's Mercury. So then we have Venus, my favorite line. Venus is the dark green line. And so Venus is where we go when we want to draw in love. It could be self-love or love from a partner. It is also a place where we can make a lot of money, or there can be a lot of good financial opportunities for making money. Investments, wise investments. Venus rules Libra and Taurus. So Venus Libra, the Libra side of things is about relationships with other people and business partnerships. Let's close the deal. And then Taurus Venus is like, okay, now we close the deal. Libra, let's talk about the money. How much are we getting paid? How much do I need to invest, right? Can I afford this car? Okay, I'm talking the deal. I'm being diplomatic, I'm being charming. Oh, haha, yeah. Okay, let's talk about some numbers now. Venus Taurus also rules food. So we have to be mindful of how much food we eat too on the Venus line as well. Because the thing about Venus, here's a great way I can put this in a bow. Venus is where you meet your love partner. And so what do we do with our partners? We go out to eat. We go on dates. We go on dates. We eat together. And so you may be a woman that is watching your figures. I know it's probably more women in your audience. You may be a woman who's watching your figure and you get with us, you start dating someone on your Venus midheaven line, and then you're going out with each other, then you move in together, you're cooking with each other, then you're like, man, I just picked up a couple pounds. Okay, maybe I need to kind of pull it back. So you have to be mindful of what you're eating and what you're drinking on the Venus line, because you can put on some pounds. Now the negative aspect of Venus, oh, another thing I want to say, the positive aspect of Venus is relationships with women are more positive on the Venus line, for sure. Um, let's say if you feel like you're a woman who's a guy's girl or something like that, you may find yourself having more positive relationships with women on your Venus line. Hanging out with your girlfriends and stuff like that. It's really good for that. Now for the darker aspects of Venus, you have to be mindful of your money, how much you spend, right? You could want lavish things. You may have expensive taste. You may have that Libra taste. But then you need to kind of draw in like Taurus, be a little bit more like hoarding with your money, like get some good deals, try to like negotiate some good deals on some things and stuff like that. You also need to be, of course, mindful, like I said, of like your health, what you're intaking into your body. You need to take your supplements. You need to take your vitamins. You need to be taking care of your skin. I've seen people can deal with like bad skin issues on a negative Venus line. They could, suffer from weight gain. Also kind of feeling not good about yourself in that regard because maybe you feel like you gained some weight. It just depends on the person. But you need to be mindful of how much money you're spending on your Venus line when you're on a disharmonious Venus line, because you could face issues of debt. You could face issues of bankruptcy. You could face issues where you just don't have enough. You don't have enough to support yourself, right? So it can be kind of complex. That's why you need to understand how your Venus placement is being aspected in the chart, and what are the transits going on. It's so much to this science, guys. I can go on forever, but that's Venus dark side. Okay, so let's move on now to Mars. So Mars is the red line on astro.com, and Mars is going to represent our divine masculine energy. I'm just going to plug in my phone just to make sure it don't die on us. Okay. So Mars line is going to be where we're more competitive. This is a light side. We're more competitive. We're more sporty. This is a great line for people who are in the military. Let's say they get transferred somewhere, and if it's on their Mars line, it's a positive Mars line at that, and they have a positive Mars. Maybe Mars is exalted in Capricorn. They might actually move up in the ranks. Sergeant, deputy, whatever it is. I don't know the military like rankings and stuff because I'm not associated with that. Never have been. Don't know anyone in the military, but they could actually move up in the ranks. Same thing if the person is a coach, a basketball coach, and they're on their Mars line. They have like a business, or maybe they are a college coach or middle school coach. They could move up rather quickly because Mars rules sports. Mars rules the military. Right? They can move up rather quickly in that career field, which is why it's also important to know what your relocation goals are. Are you moving for career? What kind of career are you in? You're in sports. Okay, let me look at your Mars line. Let me look at how Mars is aspected in your chart. So that's Mars. Good for like starting things. Mars rules Aries, the initiator. Where I'm starting things, I'm fiery, I'm confident. You can have a lot of confidence on this line. Your masculine energy is more abound as a female, and especially for men, they feel more masculine. They're more taking charge. They're go-getters. They're getting after it. They're getting the business license. They're getting the LLC. They're putting all the things in motion. Now, the negative aspect of the Mars line could be arguments, like I was saying before. people warring at you. Mars rules war, violence. So women have to be careful on this line through and through. Doesn't matter if you have Mars positively aspected in the chart or Mars is exalted, women have to be very careful. I'm telling you from experience. You have to be very careful in broad daylight, nighttime, any time of the day on your Mars line. From it could be men or women. I'm not going to single out men attacking. It could be women too. You can get in arguments with people, just in general. People could be having this attitude towards you, or you could be acting in that manner as well, depending on how your Mars is aspected and depending on the sign of the Mars in the chart. So you have to be mindful of warring and violence, like just be mindful of arguments and warring and violence, and being in just negative environments and stuff like that. You have to be really mindful of your environment on the Mars line because it is war and it is violence. So that's the bad side. Now the Jupiter line is the pink line on astro.com, and this is where luck tends to be more abundant. It's the planet of fortune and joy and abundance. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, foreign cultures, foreign lands, optimism, law, philosophy. These are all the things that you're going to experience, good things, if of course Jupiter is positive in the chart, positively aspected in the chart as well. I'll tell you something. The thing that I find about Jupiter, because it is a benefic, just like Venus, Jupiter is a benefic. So even if you have Jupiter retrograde and you go to your Jupiter line, you're going to experience some luck. Trust and believe me. I just experienced it, so I can kind of like lend some advice to this, because prior to this year, I had not been to my Jupiter line, right? And I'm a person who has Jupiter retrograde. And so I did experience luck. I felt, number one, lucky to be there, lucky to get the opportunity to win a trip to the Final Four. I won a sweepstakes, and it was always going to be at that location in Phoenix. Now, if it would have been in a different location, I'm sure I probably wouldn't have won it. But everything aligned with my chart, me winning it, and then me going there and having a great time and feeling lucky while I was there as well, where I got a shout out from a huge company on my social media, on my other social media, on my Instagram, and it was great. So definitely my Jupiter as well is in a negative aspect to my Uranus, which kind of talks about like the relationship I have with like certain like matriarchs in my family and stuff like that. But I didn't experience that with my host, but I did kind of feel this kind of energy with certain women there. And I just kind of like knew how to like steer away from that and stay in that Jupiter energy. Harness the good light aspects of Jupiter, like I've been telling you guys. You're in like on a line, but in the chart, Jupiter is not great. It's not positively aspected. And you may have felt, Jupiter retrograde, you don't have like the best luck in the world. You need to harness the light energy of Jupiter to continue to be optimistic, to be happy, to feel abundant. Say those affirmations. I am abundant. I am beautiful. I am smart. I am intelligent. I am lucky. I am this. I am that. These things are going to help you on this particular line. So very important to harness the energy of that planet when you're on that line, if it's not great in the chart and if it's not just a great line in general. Very important. Okay. So the negative aspects of Jupiter could be loss of finances, not feeling lucky, not feeling like you are getting help from people, because Jupiter on the positive side, you could be getting a lot of help from people, getting pushed into the forefront, being around people who can really increase your luck. But if it's on the negative side, you could feel like you're around people who don't help your luck, or who are trying to hinder you in some way, or who are kind of blocking you in a way, or not putting you out there, or not, just contributing to the lucky energy that the Jupiter line has to offer for you. Okay, so that could be something. You could also have issues trying to, because Jupiter is a great line for retirement. And if you live on a negative Jupiter line, you won't have a peace of mind in your retirement there. So you have to be mindful of where you retire. It should be a positive Jupiter line. That means it should be trine or in a sextile. Okay, even a conjunction if Jupiter in the chart is positively aspected. All right, so that's that. Um, Saturn is the brown line on astro.com, and Saturn is where challenges may arise. Saturn lines really challenge us to be more structured and more focused and more responsible in our day-to-day dealings with people, places, things, and situations. Saturn is also going to make the individual come off older and more wiser than what they are. You're just going to have a very serious mindset there, a very serious energy about yourself. And so that's going to translate externally to others, and they're going to be like, oh, wow, this person, okay, I gotta take this person seriously. It's not a great place to date at all. All right. Um, I wouldn't advise it.
Even if you date older men, you know how they always say Saturn is like the grandfather.
I would only say it's a great place to date if you have crossings in Venus there. If you have any like Venus crossings, then have at it. Absolutely. But any of these lines, if it's not near a Venus line and there's no Venus crossings, in my experience, I've not seen love come away from it. There's not been any like good energy there because the Venus energy isn't present. The love energy, it's just like Saturn is going to be where you work. You're working to establish your foundation, and you may be in a position of power and authority. You may be a CEO, you may be a boss. You may meet that guy who is a boss, but if there's no Venus energy present, it may continue to be platonic, and then you can get kind of frustrated. I've seen that happen as well with some people. Um, the negative side of Saturn, I've seen where, man, okay, I had a client once where this person wanted love, but they lived on a Saturn line and they could not understand for the life of them why they could not attract someone. They wanted to get married and everything. And you would think that Saturn, it does have something to do with marriage because when we go through our Saturn return, a lot of times when people go through their Saturn return, they're either about to enter a long-term partnership or they're about to get married or making plans to get married. Saturn return, you're 27, you're in your seventh house perfection year. But again, Saturn, you first need to structure your life first and then move on to that particular aspect of your life of being with another person. And so Saturn creates challenges and opportunities for love and for a relationship, but it definitely empowers you in your business endeavors. It could definitely give you a edge up on creating structure in your business, creating an LLC, getting your licenses and all those things. But the negative side of Saturn is you may also feel a little bit lonely, a little like depressed, maybe vitality low. Your health vitals are kind of low there as well because you're just constantly working, and some chakras could be closed off in this location, which is why it kind of trickles down to the depression. Or even if you're not a depressed person, you may feel like lonely because again, people see you as this powerful force, this figure, this authoritative figure, and they're like, okay, I respect you, but I don't necessarily want to hang out with you. I think that you're great in business, but I don't necessarily like want to hang out with you like that. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen that in some charts. Uranus is a light blue line. Now I've seen people. Now Uranus is rebellious. Uranus is rebellious energy. It rules Aquarius. So you go to this line. This is a great line to go to with your friends, go on a girls trip, go on a guys trip. Uranus, Aquarius rules the 11th house of friends. This is why this is a great line to go to with your friends and kick it and have a girls trip and bachelorette party, all the things. I know I had a good time in my Uranus line for sure. Miami, great. I love that place, you know. Um, but there's also on the dark side of Uranus, it can make you quite rebellious. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to know I'm going this direction. I don't want to hear what you got to say. I'm doing this. I'm going zip lining. You're gonna have fun on your Uranus line. I'm going zip lining. I don't care. I'm going to ride on the ATV. I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. I don't like living here. I'm going to move. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Rebellious energy. That's Aquarian. That's Uranian. That's I'm rebelling. I'm new age. I'm different. Uranus energy is non-traditional. Saturn energy is traditional. So you're going to have non-traditional ideas on the Uranus line. You're going to think different. You're going to act different. And the other thing about the Uranus line that's not great for women, particularly that have children, is the constant instability. A lot of moving house, moving county, moving city. And this is not a great structure for children. Now, the mom can think that, oh, this is great. Maybe she has a moon in Aquarius and she's like, oh, I like it here. Like, oh, I move all the time. And, we did this with the kids in the park and this and that. But is it really good for the children is the thing as well, so that's another thing, the lack of stability for women who have children. And then also, if you are single, you may actually like the Uranus line, the constant movement. You may like move a lot, just a constant excitement, just going here, going there. You may travel, these kinds of things. So that's the Uranus line. Uranus is also very auspicious for men, just like the Mars line is auspicious for men. Now, when it comes to dating, you could like start dating people who you wouldn't normally date on the Uranus line. If there's Venus energy there as well, you may like date like people that are not your normal type. So that could be a thing as well. So yeah, so that's Uranus at the light blue line. And then we go to Neptune. Neptune is the purple line. And this is where our spiritual energy resides. Okay. I always say, if you're going to go to your Neptune line, please go near water. You're going to feel like you're closer to God, to spirit, to source, whatever it is that you believe in. You're going to feel more connected on the 5D realm. I know I did. I lived on my Neptune line near the beach at one point, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I had a lot of spiritual downloads. So Neptune is great for spiritual retreats. If you want to spend some time on vacation, Neptune is good for that, on the beach or something like that. Neptune rules Pisces, the 12th house of rest and recluse. Is a great place to rest. Neptune rules mirrors, films, and cameras. Great for musicians, actors, actresses, creativity, creating music, getting in the studio, painting, whatever the case may be. Good for those creatives. The negative side of Neptune, if you have any sort of substance abuse issues, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's drugs, don't go to Neptune, or be mindful. Maybe Neptune would be a good place for people who need to go into rehab. Neptune 12th house does rule prisons, rehabilitation centers, ashrams, these kinds of things. So you might, find yourself on the negative side in these areas. Be mindful of dark places, like going into like sketchy neighborhoods on your Neptune line, because something not so savory can happen there. Be mindful of food, poisons, gas. I've seen people have like get food poisoning on the Neptune line a lot. Neptune does rule illness on the dark side, so you have to be mindful of that, where you eat, what you drink, all these things. And be mindful of water too. Be mindful of like going out and getting into water, and be mindful of like deep waters and stuff like that. Just be very mindful of those things with the Neptune line. Now we get into the black lines, which is we get into Pluto. And I live on my Pluto line, so I could tell you some things about Pluto. So Pluto is it rules Scorpio, and Scorpio rules the 8th house of shared resources and psychology and mystery and research. And Pluto, because it also rules shared resources, you can make money here on the Pluto line. A lot of people don't know this, but it just depends on how your Pluto is aspected in your chart, right? You can make money here because it rules shared resources. You can meet powerful people who can help you make money. Pluto rules power, powerful people, change and transformation. You can literally change and transform your life. It's like a death of the old life and the rebirth of a new life. Pluto is going to transform you Now, your Pluto line is also on the dark side going to bring you a lot of intensity. Even if it's a positive Pluto line, it's going to be intense. Everyday stress and intensity. But on the dark side, it can, it can bring you into some financial situations that are not so savory. You could face poverty. You could face losing things because it's a death and rebirth process, like a wiping away of things that you felt that materially that you were linked to, but then you have to like transform some things in order to build yourself back up again. It could be something like that, or it could just be like death is, I don't want to get too far into that, but death can happen on a Pluto line, depending on the natal chart and the time in which you travel there as well. Like I mentioned JFK, when I looked at his ACG chart when I was studying astrocartography, I did notice some things there in the Dallas location where he unfortunately had his life taken away. He was on a Pluto line, a Chiron line, and the way, he had a stellium in the eighth house, and there was a grand cardinal cross to his Pluto midheaven, fourth house, all that stuff. I did notice some things there, so you have to be mindful on the Pluto line. It's very intense, it's very stressful on the negative side of things, right? So that's the dark side. Move forward now to the moon's nodes. We're talking about the north node and the south node. We know that the south node is talking about our past lives. The north node is talking about our destiny, where we need to move to in this lifetime. So I always teach astrology like this. Do not negate your south node completely. Do not just throw it away, because then you're going to also be in trouble. But you don't want to be like 90% in the south node, because you're going to be in trouble as well. Because the south node is associated with things that you already know how to do. It's like the back of your hand. And that means you don't need to be doing that anymore in this lifetime. You need to move more towards your north node. And so you go to this line and you're going to be presented with north node, south node, past life people that come into your life that are going to help you move into your north node. You're going to be presented with people, places, things, situations that are going to help you realize your destiny and what direction you need to be moving in. Sorry, I got an ambulance or a fire truck. I'm going to go mute. Okay, sorry, I had to let that truck pass. But this is the line where you're going to like have a lot of situations where people are going to like thrust you into your north node. You're also going to have ideas too about going into your north node of destiny and stuff like that. Um, just come out of nowhere. You're going to be using, your past life skills or your south node skills to realize something that you need to be doing. So I believe that the moon's nose line is the most potent, the most auspicious line for any native, especially those people who are lost, right? So that's the dark side. If you are, going to a moon's nose line that is negative or disharmonious, you might actually, honestly, I've seen people delve more into their south node when they're on a negative moon's nose line. They're going to be like trapped in this karmic cycle, repeating the same lessons over and over and over again, and really moving more away from that north node energy as opposed to moving towards the north node energy. So those are some dark or unsavory things that can happen on the moon's nose line. And then last but not least, the Chiron line. It's actually one of my favorite lines, and people are like really afraid of it, but I really believe that the Chiron line is also a black line, and it looks like a key. The symbol is a key. And like one of those old school keys, right, that you put in the hole and turn the lock. And that's essentially what Chiron is. You open the door to your shadow self and these repressed traumas and wounds and triggers. You are going to unlock these things on this line. And you're going to understand and understand how to heal yourself from within. Okay? Particularly if it's a conjuncted Chiron line or a positive Chiron line or Chiron in Zenith. I didn't talk about Zenith yet, but Zenith means its highest point. So the highest peak energy of Chiron, where it's like really amplified, it's like right in your face. Like every day you wake up, you got to heal this Chiron aspect of your life. And so Chiron, in a good sense, is if someone wants to go through They want to quote unquote do the work. There's a term in the spiritual world of you need to do the work. And this is the line where you can go to do the work. Trust me, I've been there. I did the work. Okay. For a year. All right. Stay there for a year because I wanted to do the work so I could become a better person, a better teacher, and a better suited and better equipped to go into my purpose and into my path because I was lost before that, right? So Chiron is the wounded healer in astrology, or where we feel triggered, or where we feel like we're inadequate in some way. And you go to your Chiron line, it's really going to make you look at those triggers and those wounds in the face every day and heal that area of life, just period. Now, the dark side of that, or the unsavory side of it, the shadow side of Chiron, let's say you go to a negative Chiron, you could find yourself stuck in this dark night of the soul. You would really have to work a little bit harder in understanding where you are triggered and where you have these wounds and where you need to heal, and really create a plan on how to heal in that area of life. It's not going to be easy on a disharmonious Chiron line, not at all. You're really going to probably, I would suggest, contacting help, therapy, whatever the case may be, whatever modality, Reiki, meditation, a shaman. You're going to need someone to help you heal. It's easier to heal on a positive Chiron line yourself, and then you might have people that kind of help you heal as well. It's always good to have people help you heal just in general on a Chiron line. Let me just say that. But definitely when you're on a negatively affected Chiron line, a disharmonious Chiron line, you're really going to need a support system. Because if you don't have that, you could deal with, just like the moon line, depression, deep feelings of inadequacy, deep feelings of not feeling good enough, illness, sickness, feeling stagnant, feeling like you don't have any control over your life. Because remember, this is an asteroid that sits between Saturn and Uranus. So when I say stagnant, Saturn will kind of make you feel stagnant, like you can't get through. You don't have any power. You don't feel responsible. Uranus, all these things are just shocking out of nowhere happening. You're like, I can't get a grasp on things. I feel unstable. I feel like I'm all over the place. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important to have a support system on that Chiron line, no matter what, right? And so that's it. That's all the lines. I know that was a lot, but yeah.
Thank you. That was a nice breakdown. I do want to ask about crossings. Now, I know we have the power lines and then we have the crossings. So, can you just explain the difference, or if they, like, I think you were trying to explain it to me before, but are the crossings and the power lines, can they all happen at the same time, or do you have just crossing and then you have specific power lines? For the people who will go on astro.com and kind of look at their chart and they may be a little confused about that, can you just explain that a little further?
Absolutely. So I'll break it down in totality, power lines and crossings. So with astrocartography lines, the astrocartography lines bears with it the sign, the house, and the aspects, and all the other qualifying information pertaining to that specific natal planet that designates. And then we look at the crossings, aka the parents, aka Paranatonella. I don't know how to say it correctly. Paranatelanata. I have to figure out how to say that. I even get like tongue tied. But it's a bigger word, which means crossings, right? We just call it parents, or Jim Lewis parents. It's in the book, right? So the crossings are when any two astrocartography lines that I just spoke of. Astrocartography lines is the sign, the house, the aspect, right? So it could be Pluto, the aspect, the sextile, the house is ascendant, first house, right? So the crossing is the astrocartography line on a map of influence And it not only crosses the area, it not only crosses that area, but it's the entire line of latitude at which the crossing occurs. So these two power lines are crossing at the same line of latitude, right? So you have a map of influence, and you have Venus, and let's say you have Saturn, and it's the same line of latitude. And therefore, what are you going to have? You're going to have Venus energy, you're going to have Saturn energy. But it's not a power line, right? That's why they call it a power line, because the power line is the bigger energy here. It's the force. The parent or the crossing is the supportive. It's like the supporting actress. The parent is the lead actress. The power line is the lead actress. The parent is the supporting actress, right? So it's going to support these two lines, these two planets, whatever their characteristics are going to support that lead actress and whatever she wants to do, right? So give you an example. Oh, go
Like
ahead. You
for
had a
example,
question?
I have Jupiter. Like I'm on my Jupiter line, but I'm moon crossing Mercury, right? And one of my goals moving here was to focus on business, but really to strengthen my social media community. So of course my business can excel, right? So I was just trying to like, cause I'm like, okay, so it says I'm moon crossing Mercury, but wait, Q told me I was on my Jupiter line at the same time. So yeah.
Yeah, so let me answer that question for you. So then you would look at your moon, what house is it in and what sign is it in, crossing your Mercury, what house is the Mercury in and the sign that the Mercury is in, right? And with that crossing like that, it's like, okay, the sign that my moon is in and the sign that my Mercury is in and the house that it's in and the house that the moon is in, all of these elements are going to be crossing each other on a day-to-day basis. When I look at the crossings and the parents, from my personal experience, and this is not in his book, this is what Q ascertains. I'm a Sagittarius rising. I kind of, Sagittarius risings, we kind of, and Gemini moon, we kind of, we have our own thought process. I want the audience to understand where I'm coming from. I have my own thought process on this science as well. And with anything in my life, I've always had my own philosophy on things that are outside of a book. I am a person who am a manifesting generator in human design. I like to try the ice cream. I like to do and then I make my own judgment. So the way that I look at the parents and the crossings, I wanted to really make that clear, because a lot of times in this community, people can say, well, that's not, but this is how I feel. Okay, you can take it or leave it. From my
And that's the
experience.
difference between like a regular astrologer and an intuitive astrologer.
Thank you. Right. And I don't even like to call myself that. I just like, if someone feels that I am, then cool. You know what I'm saying? Because some people can have that little idea too, like how you calling yourself, whatever, right? But yes, the way that I have seen the parents' crossings play out is on a day-to-day basis. The power line is the lead actor, Denzel Washington. He's controlling the movie. And then you got his co-star, Kimberly Elise, in the John Q movie. I think that was what it was. That was an everyday thing, dealing with their son, him being in the hospital, having that condition on a day-to-day basis, right? So if you have Moon, Mercury crossing, you're going to be dealing with emotions over how you produce any sort of communication or any sort of projects dealing with communication, or even if it's food, how you are marketing a business that deals with food, how you're marketing. Mercury also deals with marketing, I feel, how you market things, how you are marketing on social media, how you are designing your business card, right? And how you are connecting with people emotionally through communication. Every day on your Jupiter line, tell me if I'm wrong or not, you are, and I'm hoping this is what's happening because it's a Jupiter line and it's been positive for you. There are positive communications that you feel emotional connectedness with, right? Even when it comes to communicating with your children, it's very like I'm communicating, but I'm communicating in a very loving way. I feel that the moon Mercury crossing is loving communication on a day-to-day basis. It's intuition. The moon rules intuition. It's intuition on how I should communicate this, or how I should market this, or how I should, or intuitively, I feel like I shouldn't drive down this road. Let me go detour this way. Because I don't think something's telling me I need to leave a little bit sooner. Or something's, yeah, maybe I need to, or I feel like I should ask this person a question about, can I find this thing on this aisle? And then you go to that person and it's like good communication. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, of course, yeah, let me help you. Yeah, you go this way. That's how I look at parents. Okay, so there's two lines crossing at the same line of latitude. Okay, and so that means that Moon and Mercury is somewhere around this location that you're at, and then that's what's causing this crossing, right? And so there's elements of emotion and nurturing and care and intuition, and then there's a quick, fast-paced energy as well, where there's quick conversations, there's good conversations, there's a lot you can do on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot to do. There's a lot that you are exploring there as well. Jupiter is the explorer as well. You're on the Jupiter line. And so that's what I feel the parents are. Everyday life, every day on a day-to-day. What am I experiencing? Am I experiencing, you know, and I'm not saying that's going to happen every day where it's like it's going to be like good nurturing communication every day. No, it's not going to happen like that because it's not a power line.
No. No, I've had some negative communication as well. Not only just like me watching my words, but from others, like quick misunderstandings. But I told you I'm Mars and Pisces, so especially if I'm in an environment that is not familiar with me, I'm an observer. So I'll like, depending on what it is, I'll be like, okay, like where did that come from? You know what I'm saying? And then I'll be like, all right, let me just go my separate ways and go about my business. Like that's just me because this is not my home. Not saying I won't defend myself, but it has to be where I feel like I really have to. You know what I'm saying? Somebody getting upset about a misunderstanding, I won't go like into war mode because I don't feel like it's necessary. You know, um, but I have like a couple misunderstandings, only two, where I felt like somebody came off a little aggressive, and I was like, wait, you know. But other than that, it's been very loving. Um, I feel like parenthood is it's a balance. You know, I'm learning how to be stern but be gentle at the same time. So that's just within me. I'm a Capricorn moon. Um, but you know what had me thinking was I wonder because I have Capricorn I have my moon sign in the fifth house, but then I have my Mercury and Aries in the eighth house. I'm like, okay, is that like
That's
enough
why the
resources?
communication. That's why the communication is probably aggressive towards you those two times because Aries is war. And then the moon has this element of drama. Even the moon line has this element of emotional drama and like people pulling you into their crap or just they're just being emotional. Like, I don't want to talk. So that's why you have to look at, yes, you're right. See, I'm not looking at your chart. It's like,
Yeah,
that's why you
but
got to look at your chart. It's like, okay,
I
I got
can
Mercury and
feel when
Aries
it's
and it could be warring.
I can feel when I'm being tested. That's why I go into freeze mode. I don't react. I like freeze and I like observe. Like, this person is like, this is them. This is not me. Like, I try my best not to take on other people's things, even though I know it's a test and it's probably something playing out natally. I still try not to, even with motherhood, I still try not to try to stay grounded, and really like observe and think about like what is happening right now. You know what I'm saying? That's that I don't do anything wrong, but if I did something wrong, I didn't intentionally do it or I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's been those type of things, but only twice, so it's not happening all the time.
Yes, yes. Um, and I would say that it's probably not happening a lot because perhaps your moon is in Capricorn, and they say that that's not a good place for it to be. I like to debunk a lot of things in astrology. Like they say Venus is in a detriment, moon in Capricorn. They say Venus and Scorpio is in its detriment, and moon in Capricorn is in its fall. while I agree with some of it, I don't agree with all of it. Like moon in Capricorn means that you are, you know, you take you don't have like emotional outbursts because Capricorn is Saturn. It's wise and responsible. You're very like emotionally mature. So I think that's also the thing that helps you with how you express your emotions. And you know, Saturn is slow moving. It's a slow moving planet. And so that's why, like you say, like I know when I'm being tested and I'm just kind of like, I think I'm gonna like exit stage left. That's your moon in Capricorn. See, that's why it's so important for us to understand what our what signs our planets are in when we look at our crossings, because that's going to give us more information on how we're going to react on a day-to-day basis. Moon in Capricorn, Mercury in Aries, you know, it's like I always say vice versa. If you have Mercury in Aries, you could be a person who like can like stand up for yourself, but you're also going to have people warring at you, trying to stand up to you as well. It's always going to be a vice versa. That's the energy you're going to attract because it's Mercury in Aries, right? You're going to either do it or you're going to attract it. I shouldn't say or, it should be and. You're going to do it and you're going to attract it. So then you look at your moon in Capricorn and it's like, well, even though people might war at me or I might stand up for myself, at least I'm going to stand up for myself in a very mature way. And also, too, I'm emotionally mature. I'm emotionally aware. I'm self-aware. I may be more serious emotionally than others, but at least I don't fly off the handle. I'm a moon in Capricorn. I'm going to slowly, methodically think about how to handle this stuff emotionally and not like curse you out. You know what I mean? So, and it
You
kind of
know, it's
works
so
for
funny.
you.
Before
Yeah.
I got on this thing, I made a quick video on my TikTok about how I am a strong advocate of silent cutoffs. And that's Moon and Capricorn energy. Because like if somebody offends me or I know somebody is like, let's say, um I know somebody is like plotting or doing sneakish stuff behind my back, or they talking about me, or they, telling my business and what. Like I can feel, I know, right? If somebody's doing something really harmful, and I'm like, "Dang, I thought we was cool. I thought we was close," and it hurts my feelings. I'll play it. I'll play it cool before I like exit left, and I won't like. It depends on the situation, but a lot of times I'll just exit left and be like, okay, I'm not gonna cuss him out. I'm not gonna, and I can't, Mercury and Aries can like if I take it there, or if I feel like I'm pushed to do that, it can be really like really hurtful to people, right? So I know I can get down and dirty, but a lot of times I rather just play it cool and then block you, and then you like, damn, where the hell did she go? You know what I'm saying? But I feel like I gave you chances and you kept showing me that I can't trust you. So now I'm just going to resort back into my shell and leave that space open for someone else, So that is on point.
Yeah, your Capricorn moon is like, okay, I'm going to take my power back emotionally and just cut you off. That's moon in Capricorn. What you need to feel secure and safe is I got to take my power back. You are
And it's
Capricorn. You're
very
powerful.
calculated. It's very
Yes, it's very
calculated. So people don't expect it. And I know that like some people think like I've seen people make videos about how people who do silent calls like it's emotional abuse. But it's like, would you rather just
It's
over
not.
explain yourself and have somebody drain your energy? And people are very aware. People might not be as self aware as I am, but people are aware enough,
Yeah.
So I feel like to over explain what somebody did over and over is kind of like it's not productive to me. I don't know. Maybe I overanalyze it, but that's my mindset about it.
No, I don't think you overanalyze it at all. I think that you are literally handling it like a moon in Capricorn. You are completely right. And to that point of people saying that silent cutoffs are emotionally manipulative or something like that, I don't believe that that's true. I think that it is, I'm a firm believer in protecting your peace, right? And the way that some people might view the moon in Capricorn's actions, it's actually when people do that type of stuff, I think that it comes from like a selfish place for them to say, oh, that's actually abusive. That's actually emotionally abusive that you cut me off. Well, it's abusive for me if I stay in this energy with you and allow you to be in my energy instead of cutting you off. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I have moon in Gemini, so we are like the cutoff queens. Like, we will like ice it out. Like, I don't have nothing to say, type of thing. We are like communicative. I like to communicate. As you can see, like I can go on and on. I can talk. I'm a talker. But moon and Gemini people, we do not have time. Just like moon and Capricorn, I think we're very similar. I think that's why we get along. It's like
You see, I
we
pointed
don't
to
have
my
time.
baby.
Yes.
He's a moon in Gemini.
And y'all are gonna be like this. Y'all are gonna get each other. Like he gonna come to you when he older. Like I don't feel like, Mom, should I talk to you? You'll be like, no. Protect your energy, son. Just period. You as a moon in Capricorn are about protecting your peace, protecting your energy because moon in Capricorn is all about business. I don't have time for this. What makes me happy, emotionally safe, and secure is handling my business. If it is going to obstruct my business, if it is not healthy, I have to go. And if people don't understand that, that's their prerogative. That's what I always say. It ain't, that's your prerogative. It's not my problem. You know, we can be kind of moon and Capricorn, moon and Gemini, there it's earth moon and it's air moon. It's not water moon. And so I think that's why people kind of get it confused, like, oh, that's emotionally abusive. But it's like, so I'm supposed to let you emotionally abuse me and I can't cut you off. Like,
It's
you
about
know?
self. It's about self-preservation,
Yes.
but also exerting the least amount of energy. Right. That's my perspective on it. Exerting the least amount of energy on something that I know is probably going to be very draining for me. Right. Not saying that relationships aren't important, even though I do struggle in that department because of other placements in my chart. So I'm aware. But I do give people chances, but I don't vocalize it. I just observe. And I say, okay, I see you did that. Then let's see if you're gonna correct. And I'm not gonna call you out. And then if I feel you still going in the same route and you testing me, then I'm like, okay. But yes, I just wanted to share that because the my crossings and the energy of me having a moon in Capricorn, I feel like it relates to what we're speaking about. But I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you. It's like not expressing all that energy because that's your moon in Capricorn. You have energy solely for the important things. Capricorn focuses on the important things. They are the, when I think of Capricorn, I think of LeBron, like very, very hardworking. You have time for hard work. You don't have time for like the nonsensical, and then people can kind of like misconstrue you. Also, Kenya Moore shares your same moon sign. I think she has a moon in Capricorn as well. So makes her really good for business and stuff too. She's a good businesswoman. You're a good businesswoman. So when you're dealing with business, you take your emotions out of it. And moon in Capricorn is I mean business emotionally, and that's just what it is. So I think that astrology is so cool. If people understand that about people, then a lot of misunderstandings can be left behind. But hey, that's what makes the world interesting, right? There are people who just, they don't want to look at astrology, and it's in their chart too. They don't look at this type of stuff. It's not in their wheelhouse. But yeah, did you have any other questions?
I think we at the end. Now, is there anything that you want to leave people off with about location astrology before we get into, how they can find you and how they can book a consultation and a reading? Q is amazing. She will help you. Remember, this is an 8 year, right? So I know everybody's not business focused or money focused, but this is a year for a lot of people, depending on what's going on daily for you, that you can really elevate your life. Like things could really shift and change drastically this year if you take advantage of it. And location astrology can play a major part in that. Like, don't underestimate it at all. Another thing I want to mention before I let Q get into that is, even if you don't have, like some people say, I don't have the means to move, and I have Jupiter in the first house, so I'm optimistic. I'm like, it's always a way to do whatever you want to do. But if you think you don't have a way, you'll never have a way. right? But people think I'm a blind optimist. That's another story. But um another thing that Q taught me was, even if you don't have the means or the opportunity that you think you don't have, right, to move, you can always congregate or meet or network with someone from certain areas that highlights those power lines that could help you elevate in your life. So there's always a way to even move, even if you're not physically moving.
Yes, yes. Thank you for bringing that up. I'll touch on that really quickly. And what you just spoke about is what we call harnessing the energy without traveling to the location. You can harness the energy of power lines without actually being physically there. So the way that that can show up is if you meet someone that is from a particular power line, then you can you can get that energy. Or if you're like connecting with someone online from that specific power line, you can activate that energy. I always say that dating, everyone talks about relationships, right? If you go on a dating app and you pay the subscription to have your profile in a different location, I don't know if you can do this or not still. I think at one point you could, but if
You
you
can do it
go
on Hinge.
on
Real
Hinge,
quick, I don't like dating apps,
me
but
neither.
I tried it temporarily, and you can do it on Hinge for free, but you can just change it to a different location. So just FYI, guys.
Oh, wow. See, that's great. And see, I think that that's powerful for people who really want to meet someone that they can fall in love with if they don't mind a long distance relationship. And if they plan on moving out there, this is where harnessing the energy of the power line from afar really can come into the picture. It's also a great strategy to harness the energy of the line, even if you're in business, whatever it is that you want to do. Let's say you have an online business and you want, and you know that you're lucky in this area, then you can market your business to the specific city and state, whether it's Google, Facebook marketing, whatever the case may be, put the location that you want and target your audience to get clients in that specific location. And you'll be really surprised at what you can find or what you can get there. I'll even bring it back to the Venus thing. Venus doesn't always mean like an intimate relationship. Venus means best friend. I have met so many people from overseas on my Venus line. Because I only have one Venus line in America. The rest of my Venus lines are overseas, which makes sense because I'm a Sagittarius rising. I connect really good with people overseas. I have a good friend from Taiwan, and even people here that are from China that I work with on my other career. Like there's this guy that I work with for a shoot that I did, and working with him again this week. And he's from China, and I have Venus energy there, and I have Venus energy in Taiwan, and we are like friends. It's platonic. It's a good friendship, and he lives here in California. So that's what I mean by you can harness that energy if you meet people from these different lines. You can. It's amazing what you can find. Like you'll find like I don't get along with people from Chicago because I have Mercury square there. For example, oh my God, you're from Chicago. I don't know. I don't know about you. You don't have to like X amount of your life, but just be mindful that you may not have good communication with people from there, or you may not have a meeting of the minds with people from your Mercury square or your Venus square or your Jupiter square, wherever it may be. So yes, thank you for bringing up that point. I'll, like you said, go into more stuff about it. So um, I want to say, just before I start, to tell you guys where you can find me, other than harnessing the energy with not actually being in the location, I want, because I know your audience is probably predominantly women and moms, I really want you guys to kind of look at your child's astrocartography chart, specifically too when it comes to if you live in a location, how's that location for them? How's that energy there for them? And then also too, as they get older and they go to college and things like of that nature, I feel like astrocartography could be very beneficial for helping to guide your children to the right state or country when it comes to choosing a college. You know, what's going to be the best energetically for them when it comes to what they want to achieve. I'll just say this lastly for me. I played basketball in college, Division 1. And when I was in high school, I didn't know anything about astrocartography. I was only looking at astrology, and I didn't really discover astrocartography until after college. And I wish that I would have knew about it, because I definitely would not have went to college on the East Coast. I would have went to the West Coast to play basketball instead of the East Coast, because the energy was just not favorable when it came to athletics for me, because on the East Coast there's Mars Square and Mars rules sports, and I just felt like really hindered in a way. Whereas if I would have came out west or maybe Midwest or something like that, things would have been better. So I'll say that. But other than that, the way that you guys can reach me is I do have a website. It's called qualityastro.com. All of my readings are appointment only, so you can message me through my website. There is a section where you can message me and it'll go right to my email, and I respond rather quickly. And what I do is then send you my price list. And if you want to continue on with that, then we continue on there. I also have a YouTube channel. It's called Quality Astrocartography, in which I talk more extensively about my own travels and how I felt on certain power lines. I think I got through all of them, but now I can add Jupiter and the moon to it as well, and Saturn conjunct ascendants. I have to do a video on that. But Quality Astrocartography is the YouTube channel, and qualityastro.com is the website. I do all kinds of readings, not just astrocartography. I specialize in also chart rectification, birth chart readings, synastry readings, career readings, love readings, planet, what do you call it, transit readings as well, which I think is also important for astrocartography, because it is important to understand how the planets are transiting you when you move to a specific astrocartography line. That's also going to play a part, because it's like, you know, moving at the right time, being in the right time at the right place is definitely not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not, I can't grasp the word at this time, but it is correct when we think about the concept of being in the right place at the right time. Moving at the right time and being in the right place at the right time is definitely, it's an assurity when we're thinking about astrocartography, because you can move somewhere, and although the line is positive and the planet is positive in the chart, it just may not be the right time for you to be there. You may have to hold off on that move and just kind of like move somewhere else. And that's where we get into cyclocartography. That's a whole nother thing. That's another service that I offer as well, where if someone has a time sensitive move and they want to move and they're very strategic on the year or the time they want to move, then we look at the transits and the progress chart to see if it's a good move and what exactly is going to happen while they are in that location. So it gets a little bit more technical at that point. But that's how you can reach me, and that's it.
Thank you so much, Q, for being open to interview with me. I will be putting all of Q's links in the description below. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to comment, or you can contact her directly. And I'm just so happy to have her on to shed light on astrology and astrocartography, because it is needed in our community. No matter, our community is a Black community, but worldwide, in any culture, people need to be more aware of these things so we can be more intentional day to day, and just our life in general, and our goals and our actions and the steps that we take in life. A little side note, I wasn't going to bring it up, but I kind of want to throw it in there, because there was a professional astrologer who just kind of like had a tragedy in LA, and it's turning into people kind of like demonizing the art of astrology. And I want to just remind people that there can be negative aspects or things that happen in people's life no matter what career they're in. And astrology is not astrology can be used for harm, or anything could be used for harm, but it's not one of those things where it's evil. You know what I'm saying? Because I think people are turning it into something that it's not. And any tool that can be used to for your self development. And I'm not saying the sister that was this way, but people are trying to paint her because such a tragedy happened. People are trying to paint astrology in a certain way because they know she was an astrologer. And I just want to say that as far as from the truth, that astrology is just something that's inherently evil, and that it'll make people harm themselves or their family. Like, no, that's not what this is. You know what I'm saying? It's not what this is. And I just want people to take away the perceptions of what they think it is and get to know it a little more themselves before they assume or come up with conclusions based on what the media is stirring out there.
I totally agree with you, Ama. Like, serious, like you speak facts. Moon and Capricorn, just period. I really think that unfortunately, astrology already had a negative connotation to it, and this kind of made it even worse, this whole ordeal. I was just watching a podcast the other day, and they were talking about you astrologers, you guys are dark and all this stuff, and it was just like really interesting to me. But I think that also too, um, we have to also consider that people are going to believe what they want to believe and think what they want to think, no matter how much or how blue in the face we get to tell them that astrology is not that, it's not dark, it's not demonic, it's not da 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 da. We just have to accept that some people are just not going to be on the side of astrology is great and it'll help you. I think that as an astrologer, I have having heard about that news, um, I want to say condolences to the families that lost loved ones, and also too, as an astrologer, I have a duty, I have a responsibility to continue to represent the art, the science of astrology in a way that is integral, in a way that is truthful, honest, um, because I really do believe in the science. And I know that I can't tell anyone to think in the way that I think about the science, but I can only do my part to continue to help it grow and continue to help others. And I just would pray that people would not see it that way, despite this tragedy or despite things that might come up in the future. I just really hope that people will really like study it, really understand what it is, get some books on it, and really understand what it is. It's planets that actually exist. NASA deals with these planets. Pluto exists, Mars exists. You can get an app on your iPhone and look at these planets. These are things that truly exist. And I think that we also have to understand free will, and people have free will to believe or not believe or take action the way they take action. And it has nothing to do with the science of astrology. It has nothing to do with any of that. It really is free will and how people want to live their lives. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. I kind of feel like I rambled, but I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. My son is asking for a hug. It makes a lot of sense, and for the people who do be, this is not for me to try to convert people, because more than likely people who are not there probably won't stumble across my channel, and if they do, they'll probably leave quickly. But this is just me to those who are believers to stand firm in the power of astrology and how it can elevate your life, and don't really be this what's the word I want to say, like yes,
Disillusion.
yeah, like don't let other people take you off your square and what you believe, and for you to continue to study and learn so that you can not only be better for yourself but for your family, for your mother, for your sister, for your children, because it is that powerful. So I just want to leave everyone with that. Thank you so much for for watching, those who will watch this video. And again, don't be afraid to ask questions in the comments below. Tell your experiences with dabbling into location astrology if you have. And if you want a legit reading, please support and reach out to Q. And peace and love, y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching. My son is like, okay, mom, enough is enough. So thank you, and thank you again.